And guess what? Broke a string. I broke a string. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. And I've been playing this guitar for 20 minutes. I just broke a string. Oh, it's awful. Anybody in the chat? Alright. Well, I had to switch guitars. You just have to come out when someone joins. Hey, Juke 5000, I see he's in the chat. And what's really bad, guys, I brought this guitar out to jam, and we started the stream, and I didn't even go 30 seconds, and I broke a string. And this guitar really sounds awesome. And I've been playing it for an hour, getting the sound just right, you know. Start the stream and voila. String break. That's okay.
Devastator's on.
I see Devastator's made it. And tonight, this is a test stream, and for the test stream, guys, I want to try something. I am going to try to add a camera. And I want you guys to tell me if the camera actually fires up and shows. I'm going to try to change the chat window here a little bit so I can see both. Now, somewhere on the screen, I think it's up here, there should be another window that pops up, and it should be the guitar amplifier. So let me know if you all see another screen pop up.
Tom Surfing Aliens on.
And now it's not working. Hold on, guys. Do you guys see another window? There should be a window up here. Yeah. With the amplifiers. Let me know if you guys can see it. I see it in OBS.
Yeah, you can see it.
But whether or not it's transporting and showing up on your all's end, I don't know. Each week, see, I gotta get used to everything's backwards for the window in OBS versus what I do. So, yeah, there should be an amplifier window open.
You can see it.
And then when I hit this button, it should disappear. And it disappeared on my screen. So we're trying to get each week, get it a little better. But now that I did that, yeah, I'll have to always reopen the chat window when I do that. So how'd Gerald's week go? I've been really psyched to get back for Friday night and Saturday night and talk to everybody. I see Daniel's in the group, Time Surfing Alien, Devastator, and Jupe. So we at least have 4 people here. So how was everyone's week? Did everybody get some practice time in? I didn't really get too much practice time. I've been kind of feeling under the weather. I've probably taken 8 aspirins today, 2 Alka-Seltzer cold, flu, and sinus, and about 10 sips of Dayquil. And I believe that's got me reared up enough to be able to do a live stream. But I've been feeling a little under the weather, and my leg has been bothering me. So it's been a rough week for me this week. So I didn't do much practicing. Devastator says, another week in paradise. Been fighting allergies all week. Yeah, I don't think in my case it's allergies. I think I'm actually getting a cold. I can kind of feel it in my throat. It's that time of year. But yeah, I wanted to play my Pacifica. This is the guitar my significant other got me for Christmas. Not this year, but last year. This guy's, it's awful that I broke a string. This thing sounds phenomenal. This isn't one of the cheaper Pacificas. This was bought right before they went to the Pro models. So if it would have been made 2 or 3 months later, this would have been a Pacifica Pro, because this came with the locking tuners, and these locking tuners lock from the top. So it's kind of weird. There's no locking piece on the back. They lock from the top. It also comes loaded with Seymour Duncans, Wilkinson Bridge. The humbucker here is splittable down to a single coil. It's got a 5-way switch. And this has one of just the push-in bars. It just kind of pushes in. I've only played this on one video. I did a review of a Stage Right V30 cabinet, and I played this guitar just for a little bit in that one. It's got a phenomenal sound. Sucks that I broke a string. I was going to play it tonight, but you can get so many sounds out of this guitar, from really playing a harder rock sound all the way to blues, jazz. You guys have heard me say working man's guitar, a guitar that you can get a ton of different tones out of. This is one of them. Even though it's a humbucker, when you split it, it goes right to the Strat sound. So you can get that bridge Strat sound out of this guitar. And then all the combination settings that a Strat does. The action on this guitar is set pretty low, and the frets on it are just glass smooth. Yamaha really doesn't get enough credit for their guitars. They make some phenomenal instruments. I mean, just look at it. I don't know if the flame maple top is showing up in the camera, but it has a flame maple top on it.
Jude wants to know what's your take on the Wilkinson Bridge.
If it's a true Wilkinson bridge, it's a good bridge. There's a lot of fake Wilkinson bridges out there. And it's like anything else. Wilkinson makes an inexpensive bridge just like Floyd Rose makes an inexpensive bridge. So when you go looking at a budget guitar, like a sub $400, sub $500 guitar, and it has a Wilkinson's on it, don't expect it to be one of their better bridges. It's going to be a lower quality Wilkinson bridge. Just like if you buy a J.S. Jackson that has a Floyd Rose on it, it's going to be a Jackson licensed bridge, and it's not going to be near as good as like a Floyd Rose 1000. The Wilkinson bridge that's on this one, if I can get it in the camera really close, this is a nice bridge. And notice it doesn't have a locking piece up here. So a bridge like this, you really got to get your nut up here set right so the strings can flow over the nut properly and stay in tune. The only thing that I will say about this one, I haven't set this guitar up. It takes quite a bit of force to get this bridge to come off the body. Now this bridge, you cannot pull up on it. It has been set up to where the bridge sits on the back of the body. But that also makes it more stable when you bends. So when you bend a note, the bridge doesn't want to come off the guitar. I get why it was set up that way. But since it's set up that way, when you go to do slight bends, it takes more pressure than what I'm used to get the bridge to actually start to move and do the dive bomb. The first 30 minutes I was playing this guitar, I kept reaching down and just barely tapping the bridge, and it didn't affect the tune of the string whatsoever. So it's set up to where it takes quite a bit of pressure before the bridge actually moves. I probably need to do a setup on it and just get it more to my liking. But when moving the bridge on this guitar, it stays in tune. I don't do full dive bombs on it, but you can do flutters, stuff like that with it. And without the locking nut, it stays in perfect tune. This guitar really does a good job. It's bad that it broke the string, or I was going to play it for you guys tonight. I think actually the first 30 seconds of the video, I'm playing it and it literally breaks while I'm playing. But no one was really watching the stream at that time anyway.
Devastator, you said you can always play it tomorrow night.
Yeah, I might put some strings on it, play it tomorrow night. You're right. So let me look at the chat here. Yeah, Devastator, it's a beautiful guitar. I got that, and she got me. I always talked about getting I like tweed amps. I like the covering, the woven tweed that's on the amps. She got me a tweed guitar case with it's like a red furry carpet inside. It's so plush and nice. She brought the case in because I'm always looking for cases to protect my guitars. So I always have a guitar that I don't have a case. So she brought the case in at Christmas, and I thought she just got me a case. And it wasn't until I reached down and picked the case up that I realized, oh, this is not just a case. There's something special in this case. And when I opened it up, I saw the Pacifica. And what's cool about your significant other getting you a guitar, we're all biased on when we go into the music store. We're always kind of looking at what we look at, if that makes any sense. We gravitate towards what we're used to and what we like. When someone else gets you an instrument and they walk into a music store and they ask, hey, you know this guy, what do you think he would like, or what do you think he would like, and he doesn't know he would like. And that's what she did. She went into the local store, said, I'm buying Avery a guitar. What do you think he would like? And they picked out this guitar for me. This is not a guitar that I would have bought. I always knew Pacificas were good, but I probably wouldn't have bought the guitar. But after playing it, it's a really cool guitar.
You're giving them more credit than they deserve. They didn't help me pick that out.
Oh, she just said they didn't help her. She's like doing this in the background going, they did not. So she says she was 100%. She walked in and she 100% picked out the guitar. So I stand corrected. Lord knows I want to eat dinner later tonight, so she picked the guitar out. Isn't that awful? But yeah, that's when you know you got a really good woman. She's a keeper. Two, like I said, we're all biased. So when we go into a music store, I gravitate towards Super Strats. Something Wilkinson Bridge without a locker. That's not something that I would have probably picked off the wall. And an H single, I only have one guitar like that. So her going in and picking this guitar out, brought it home, me playing it, it gives you, I don't know, it's outside the box, if that makes any sense. Now, I heard her laughing, so someone must have made a comment.
Devastator said, LOL, what mama says goes.
Well, you're right, Devastator. What mama says does go in this house. The old saying is, she wears the pants. But, yeah, she picked that one out for me. But I broke a string on it. So, I'll have to get some. I got tons of strings here. I'll restring it maybe tomorrow. And get it up and going for tomorrow night's live stream.
Juke wants to know what you think about the 80s Kaler 2300.
The Kaler 2300. I would have to look that up. Give me 1 second. Since this is a test stream, it won't matter. I just closed the windows. Let me maximize here. Kaler 2300. All right, the Kaler 2300 from the pictures that I'm seeing is a cam bass bridge. The only thing that I can tell you about that bridge is back when I played those type Kalers, I thought they were a little spongy. Now I know if you call Mr. Kaler, you got a 50-50 chance if you call Kaler that you're going to speak to Mr. Kaler himself. He's a really down-to-earth person. You're either going to speak to him or Rex. They can advise you on your style, on what you need. You can get different springs for those. I've never played one with something other than the factory springs. I will say they have a softer feel. If you like the softer feel, you're probably going to like the bridge. It doesn't really respond like a Floyd Rose because it's cam based. So you have an ellipse. It's not a perfect radius, okay? And when that cam moves, that's what creates the down pitch. So I don't know if it's more sharp on the front end than it is on the back side, but it is a cam-based bridge. I know you have to route the top of the guitar out for the springs underneath of it to set in the bridge. Really, man, it's about personal preference. I like the 2700 and I like the Spider. And what's really funny, before I started the stream, I brought my Vandenberg out and I was going to play my Vandenberg. And sad to say, my Vandenberg has developed a problem. Something's happened to the humbucker in the Vandenberg. I plugged it in and puppy dogs are barking. Something happened to the humbucker. So now it sounds like a really weak single coil. So it's either burned out or the connection and the pickup has failed. That has a Kaler Spider on it. That's a good bridge. My other PVs have Kaler 2700s, which is the killer bridge. I like those bridges. They're great bridges. I've just never owned a cam-based Kaler. If you go back in the 80s, that was the war. Everyone talks about the war between Kaler and Floyd. It wasn't the war between the 2700 and the Floyd Rose. That wasn't the war. It was the war between the cam-based 2300 style bridge and the Floyd. And they had completely different feels. If you don't like the Floyd, you'll probably like the Kaler. It's usually one or the other, man. But my opinion is Kaler makes good stuff. His bridges have been around for 30 years and they're still working. Those old bridges are just bulletproof. You just can't beat them. I gotta find my chat window, so hold on here. Let me get my chat window back. All right, I'm just gonna leave the screen like this. I don't really need OBS open. It's a little better. Yeah, it's up to you. I forget who asked the question now on that.
It was Jupe.
Was it Jupe? Yeah, Jupe. So I know that's kind of vague, Jupe, but it's more about what you like. If you like it and it makes you want to play the guitar, that's all that counts. Don't let anybody tell you it's a piece of junk. They're great bridges. They're solid bridges. They're made in the United States. They've always been made in the United States. Dave Kaler has never, ever, ever licensed his product to an outsourcing company. When I say outsourcing, that means someone can stamp it Kaler or licensed by Kaler. He has never done that. He's always been in his little shop with his machines making the parts. Now, there are fake Kalers out there that have been made. So you really need to do your research. I believe it's Lex something has a channel that's really devoted. Now he works for Dave Kaler, and they've went over the fake Kalers versus the real Kalers to make sure that you're getting a true Kaler bridge. The fake Kalers had some problems, and he did make one bridge for a guitar company at a price point, and they had some issues with some of the saddles. And they have since machined new saddles for those bridges. I don't remember which bridge it was, but they have rectified the problem. That's another thing. If they build something and there's a problem with it, they're going to make an improved piece for that bridge. They're going to fix it. The 2700 had a problem with the binding posts being too small and they would bend. They come out with the 2710, they upped the size of the insert and the screw post, and it fixed the problem. So Dave is very conscientious about his product. But go check out, I can't, if you type in Kaler bridges, that Lex channel will come up, and he's sitting with Dave Kaler, and they have an open forum on that. Go in there and talk to them. They can answer a lot more questions than I can on the bridge. But they're solid bridges. Just like a Floyd Rose. Floyd Rose is a solid bridge. All right, let me look up on the chat here, try to get caught up. I missed a lot. I see a lot of conversation going on. Yeah, Daniel, it's a great surprise gift, the Pacifica. I can't complain whatsoever. Great gift. And like I said, it's not a guitar that I would have bought. But the more I play it, the more I realize how good of an instrument it is. Like I said, Yamaha really, they don't get the love that they deserve. The frets on this guitar, they are thin, but when I move the string on these frets, it's probably one of the smoothest feeling guitars I own. Now, I have less playtime on this guitar. It's new. But just moving this A string back and forth, it is just, it's glass smooth. There's a little bit right there, but it is just a glass smooth feel. And the fretboard itself, the grain pattern and how the fingerboard feels, it's just really smooth. It has a really nice rolled edge right here. I like that. I've come to the point where I like that rolled edge. I don't like a sharp edge right here. It's got a nice broken rolled edge on it. It has a really nice comfortable feel on the neck. And I think that's what I like about it. It just feels broken in. It feels smooth. It's easy to play. But this guitar, with the action set low on it, I can still get the harmonics out of it. Some guitars will choke off. It seems like the harmonic ability of the guitar will decrease when you lower the action like this one. This one has really low action, and it's still easy to get the harmonics out of. It's a sweet one. Very, very few guitars can you slam the action on like that, and they're still easy to get harmonics out of. I think we talked about that last week, that the guitar I was playing last week, I wanted to raise the action. That was the Kramer that we were playing last week. I wanted to raise the action to make it a little bit more harmonic, responsive. But this guitar does well.
Jupe says when you say cam bass, do you mean top mount, no routing?
Yeah, basically, a cam bass tremolo. Let's pretend we've got the pin right here, and this is a cam, just like an engine has, and the cam spins. Well, this cam isn't necessarily round, and the strings go over it, okay, on the saddles. And when you move the bar, this whole piece of metal moves back and forth. So it acts like a cam, and each saddle is like a lobe, we'll say. And that lobe, the string goes over. So as you move the bar, the whole bridge itself is not moving, it's fixed. The only thing that's moving is the cam in the bridge that the saddles are attached to. That's what I mean by cam-based bridge. It's not a fulcrum-based bridge. That one's not fulcrum-based either. Well, I guess technically this is fulcrum-based. A fulcrum base uses two pins, and the tremolo goes around the pin, and it pivots off the post. So that becomes a fulcrum-based tremolo. The cam-based tremolo doesn't do that. There's no fulcrum on the bridge plate isn't moving on a fulcrum. It's the whole assembly is rolling on that cam, if that makes sense. And that's what gives it that smoother feel, because it's not a metal on metal pivot. It's actually riding in bearings on either side. It has bearings or bushings, and that whole mechanism is riding in those sleeves, and it makes it very smooth feeling. But if you like that firmer feel, you usually have to put firmer springs in it to tighten it up. But for like small, like flutters, you can reach down and just go like this with the bridge, and it'll flutter really well. Not a flutter like hitting the bar and it flops, not that type of flutter. More of a flutter like when you take the bridge and you just go like this, okay? With the Kahler cam bass, it's gonna vary the tune a lot, okay? On a fulcrum bass, this doesn't do too much unless you really smack it. On the Kahler, it's gonna be more responsive. You gotta kind of play one. And I hate to say it, it's kind of one of those things that it becomes a love-hate relationship. You might love it, then again you might play it and hate it and go, I don't like the way my hand feels on top of this thing. Because it has a completely different feel than a Floyd Rose. It doesn't mean it's bad, it means it's different. If you like it, you're going to love it, because it's not like a Floyd, if that makes any sense whatsoever. It's like looking at pickups. Some people like Fluence, some people like DiMarzio, some people like Seymour Duncan. Once you start to figure out what you like, then you'll know what kind of guitars you gravitate to. And that doesn't make it bad, like I was just talking about the Pacifica. This doesn't have the Seymour Duncans that I normally play. This isn't a JB pickup in this guitar. It's not a Kahler, it's not a Floyd Rose, it's a Wilkinson bridge. I don't normally play Wilkinsons, but I still like the guitar. So the Kahler can fall in that. It may suit for X things, and it might scratch that itch on certain things that you're doing, and then you'll have another guitar that has a Floyd or a 2700 or a fixed bridge. I'm starting to like fixed bridge guitars. There's an advantage to a fixed bridge. I need to get another guitar out here, because now I keep picking up the one with the broken string. On a fixed bridge guitar, this isn't floating. So when you bend the string on a true floating bridge, the tremolo will move because you're changing the string pressure. You're increasing the pressure of the string. So that causes the guitar to go out of tune. So if you hit your low E and then you bend up on the B, the low E is going to go out of tune. And a lot of people don't like that. So if you have a fixed bass bridge, you strike your low E and you bend up on the B, the low E is going to stay in tune. Okay, so you can bend your B up to whatever note you're trying to qualify to make that wild sound, if that makes any sense. Your E isn't going to dip down as your B goes up in pitch because it's fixed bass. This Wilkinson's is set up to where there's a lot of spring pressure on it. So when I bend the string, the bridge doesn't come off the body. So it's effectively working like a fixed bridge, but the drawback is when I go to bend a note, I really have to push down on the bar to get the tremolo to start going down. That's what I said earlier in the stream. I'm not really used to it, so it takes more effort to bend the tremolo down because the springs in the back have been tightened up so much to where the back of the bridge is slammed against the body. So there's pros and cons to both, if that makes sense. And I'm going back over the chat. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't have a Kahler here with a cam bass, or I could go over it with you. And Devastator says Yamaha makes great instruments. The two I've had have been some of the nicest I've owned. Yeah, this is my first Yamaha electric. I think I did have a Yamaha acoustic probably 20 years ago, but I no longer have it. So this is definitely my first Yamaha electric, and I like it. And Jupe says he has a feeling that he would like the Kahler. Yeah, I'm a Kahler guy, but I'm more of a Kahler 2700 guy. Hey, Short Bus just joined the group. Hey, Short Bus. And I know you talked to Linnell earlier. You said you were coming over tomorrow. So, like I said, man, I'm on enough aspirin and Dayquil and Alka-Seltzer Sinus that I could probably drop a horse at this point. But you're more than welcome to come over for a lesson tomorrow. Just keep in mind that I've got enough stuff in me to drop a horse. Well, let me go get another guitar since this one broke a string, and you guys can sit in the chat. Let me get a replacement instrument for this one, and I'll pick something else out that's kind of cool that we can jam on. All right. I went in I picked up my PV Nitro. This guitar has been heavily modified. It's nowhere near stock, just so you know. Extremely modified would probably be the way of putting it. So this guitar has an EMG 89 right here. It also has a PV Generation T pickup in it. And if you notice, it is tilted the wrong way. Well, it's the right way for me, because I routed this guitar and I deliberately installed the pickup in that configuration. This guitar also has the world famous Kahler 2710, which in my opinion is the best bridge ever made. And yes, the guitar is beat up. There's more dents, valley scratches, and nicks in this guitar than any guitar I own. But it has been played, and it has been played, and it has been played. And it actually needs a refret. Some of the frets on the guitar are past fixing. You could not fret level this guitar and repair the frets on it. This was my main guitar when I played out live as a professional musician. I can't fathom the amount of hours that have been played on this guitar. So let's do a little sound test on it. I'm going to turn it up here. We can get to see what the EMG 89 actually sounds like. It's a very old missed a lot of notes, but that's okay. We're just average guitar players jamming and having fun. The jack seems to be having an issue. When I moved the jack, it was breaking up. But that's my PV Nitro. Everyone has a guitar that's kind of like you would never sell. That's the one that you go to. This is my go-to guitar. This is it. And if everyone wants a really good laugh, I'm going to flip the guitar over here. And I want y'all to see what it says on the back. Can you see that? Well, the other word that used to be right here has been removed. This was my bar guitar. And at one time it said, no lot lizards. No lot lizards. So you would be playing, and then you would flip it over if the women got a little too rowdy with you. So it would just say no lot lizards. I was young and dumb. I thought it was cool. And this yellow, the pinstriping, it used to be on the whole face of the guitar in striping, and not like an Eddie Van Halen guitar, more like just lines going like this across the guitar. It kind of looked neat. I don't know if I have any pictures of the guitar back when I had all the pinstriping on it. But this was my bar guitar. And it seems like for whatever reason tonight, it seems like the live stream has a lot of lag. It seems like there's a big delay tonight. So I may have accidentally hit the wrong button and created a lot more lag from where I'm talking to where you all see it.
Read your last comment.
Jupe says, I have a guitar with an original Floyd. When I leave it in the bar, I'll lose it, so I just flop around and I swing it up and I use it. Then I let it drop and it makes an annoying squealing sound. I mean, I used to abuse this one before I knew the problems that the Nitro had. This guitar has strap locks on it. I used to throw the guitar around my shoulder because that was part of the thing we did. And you can see right here there's a big dot. That was one of the accidents when I threw the guitar around my shoulder and the screw flew out of the instrument and the guitar landed over there. It did not break the neck, but it did take a nice little chunk out of this section right here. That's where it landed. And there's another big dent over here from where it hit something. Right there. So the guitar is quite beat up. So that was one accident. But I used to take the guitar, since I had strap locks, and just pick it up with the bridge. And just pretty much tear it up. Well, this guitar was famous for it breaking right here between the bridge and this pickup. There's very little meat. So I don't know if I would do that with this guitar anymore. There is a hairline crack there that I've already fixed. I put CA glue down on it, and that's all I've done, but there is a small hairline crack there. So I'm not as abusive on this guitar as I once was back when I was playing bars. But with the Floyds, I don't think you'd have a problem picking them up and just wallowing them around. PV had an issue with the Nitros cracking right there, and that's, you're putting a lot of pressure on those bread posts right there. So as long as you have a guitar designed well and the posts aren't going to come out, you shouldn't have a problem picking them up like that. That's part of the abuse you do to these guitars.
He said when it's tightened, it's fine. It's just when it's loose, the clock it squeals.
Yeah. I mean, if it's squealing, it could be a ground issue. It's the only thing I can think of. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I'm not familiar with a Floyd Rose doing that. On my Floyd Roses, they have what's called a turbo bar, and I'm pretty quick on switching out the factory bar to the Floyd Rose turbo bar. So the turbo bar, you have to unscrew from underneath. There's an Allen screw, and that cup holds the socket that the bar goes in. So when you take that out, that cup will drop off, and that insert will come out of the bridge on the top. When you get the turbo bar, it'll have a new insert and a new cup and a new screw. And I found the turbo bar, for me, works better. I'm not a big fan of the push-in, and the turbo bar takes a lot of the slop out. But it shouldn't be a ground issue as far as the bar. That should be grounded to the claw and the other part. I don't know what that could be. I'd have to look at it. You get a squealing sound. I mean, like a harmonic squeal or like a feedback squeal? That would be my question, which it is. I don't know. But this is a Kahler that I like, just so you guys know. And this is the bridge that caused Floyd Rose to sue them. And if you look between here and here, how much flat space there is there, that's where you can lay your palm. And it's a low profile bridge. I don't know if you could see that, how low profile that is.
He said it's like a metal sound.
I don't know. A metal sound. It could be. I would double check all your saddles and then double check the screw that I was just telling you about underneath the. See, I don't have a Floyd Rose. Let me get a Floyd Rose guitar here. I got one on the wall. So this one technically isn't a Floyd Rose. This is a Floyd Rose that I built. So underneath here, this is a turbo bar. So underneath your bar, you take this out. This little guy right here, there's a cup underneath of it. And that cup goes under, and then there's a screw that pushes on it, and it pulls this in tight. Check the tightness there. And there really isn't much to a Floyd Rose. For you to get a rattle noise, double check all your saddle screws right here. Make sure they're all tight. If they're not tight, the saddle will move forward. It's going to throw off your intonation. So I can't imagine that would be the issue. Go underneath, from the top. You can't get to them unless you remove the saddles. There's 3 large screws right here. One in the center, one on the bottom, one right here. That holds your block, the big brass block that's under the bridge. That's what holds that on. Pull your plate off and make sure that block is tight. Make sure it's not flopping around, okay? Because that block the springs are hooked to that block. So that could be loose. I would just look for anything loose. It can't be these guys, okay? Because these are the lockers that hold the strings. So if they were loose, you would lose a string. There can't be too much there causing the issue. I would just double check your ground, make sure your ground's good, and double check all your hardware. But like I said, if that block is loose, you're going to have to pull the saddles. And there's 3 large screws in there, and you need to tighten those. I got a video on Floyd Rose bridges. If they did get loose, take some alcohol, clean out the holes really good. When you put it back together, take some blue Loctite, put in those screws, and really draw them down tight so that block stays tight. Make sure the screw in this stays tight. That's another common failure on the Floyd Rose, that this little housing will start to move. So even though you tighten this, okay, the whole housing will shift and cause a flutter. And the turbo bar uses 2 pins. You can see there's a smaller pin here on the end, and then the larger diameter. Since it's got 2 different size sleeves down in it, that smaller pin locks into the smaller diameter sleeve, and then the upper pin is fixed into the top. So when it's hitting both of those, that takes all the slop out of the bar. It's a very precise bar. This is called the turbo bar. but you do have to change the housing for that to work. And the video for this bridge is in the FFM Hot Rod group of videos that I did on how I built this bridge. But I got a couple different ones. I did one for a gentleman, Smoothie Buns. We did a hot rod bridge for him. Pretty sure that we went over all the different things that you can do to a Floyd Rose and that. There's really not much to a Floyd Rose, so I would just open it up, double check all your screws, make sure your springs aren't touching. And if it could be an issue with your springs rubbing and your claw funny, maybe your claw's sitting funny, and that claw needs to move back and forth on those screws freely. I see a lot of time those screws will be on an angle, and that claw gets hung up when you move the bridge. So when you get the cover off, move the tremolo and make sure that claw is able to float and move freely.
Looks like the issue seems to be right where the bar sets in.
Yeah, I would double check the screw underneath here. Pull this housing, pull this screw out. Now if you have an L-shaped brass block like this guitar, you're not going to be able to get to that screw unless you remove the saddles and remove the block. But the stock tremolo will not have an L block, and that L block goes under the screw and you can't get to it. But it adds mass and sustain, so that's why this guitar has it. And you can tell back here, it's almost hitting the back cover. This is a 42 millimeter large brass block that's on this one. I would start there, Juke. Can I have a smoke gum and a drink? I guess a Monster. I don't really have a Monster. I'm so worked up on Dayquil and everything else. I think I need a Monster. That's the perfect mixture between pain pills, aspirins, Alka-Seltzer, and Dayquil. And a Monster.
Got 2 in there.
And smoke. So I'm really batting 1,000 on health wise today, guys. So what's everyone been doing this week? I kind of started rambling. I kind of missed everything. Anybody looking at something new? Something they're thinking about getting? Gonna get jittery. You know, if you're talking about the monsters, what really makes me jittery? What's the other one? It's not Monster. It's Red Bull. I cannot drink Red Bull. If I drink Red Bull, I'm like instantly I start shaking and I feel like I'm getting ready to take off to the moon or something. I can't drink that stuff. Now these, I can drink 2 of these a day. You know, sometimes more. It's probably not good for you. But I never really get the shakes from it. I do feel that there's a crash on the back end a little bit, but not near as bad as the Red Bull. But yeah, each week, guys, I wanted to be able to do something. So this is just a test stream. So I wanted to be able to show the amplifier. And I'm still getting used to the setup here. Now when this little screen shows up over here, I don't know if it just pops in. I have it set up as a fade. So it should fade in and fade out, but on my end, it just kind of blam, it shows up. And then when I do that, I lose my chat window. So I haven't quite figured out why I lose my chat window when I gauge the second camera. It's kind of weird.
It just kind of pops in.
Yeah, Linnell says it just kind of pops in. So I'm trying to do a gradual fade on that. Plus, there's really not much going on right there. It's just the amplifier, so you can kind of see the SM57 pointing towards my 4-speaker Celestion cabinet. And then the cabinet next to that, you'll see that's an SWR bass amp to the right. and then my rack mount unit directly above that. And then the components above that's my old PA amplifier, another AMR, another SGX 2000, and then a Alesis Quadra Mini Verb 4 and my rack mount guitar tuner above that. And then I've got a dB meter that's directly above that. So that's the rig. And of course you can see my Egnator cabinet on the far end on top of the 4-speaker cabinet.
Pentagor's on.
I see Pentagor's made it in. He says this week I swapped out a Floyd Rose style bridge in a KH2 Chibson. I didn't know that you could get a Chibson with a Floyd Rose.
It says a white Ouija.
Huh. I put in a Guitar Fetish speed loader and something else. Guitar Fetish speed loader. I think that's the nuts that go into the back of the Floyd Rose. I think the string goes through that and it locks it. I think that's how that system, or it's a different saddle. Pentagor will have to tell us what that's working. But I do think there's a huge delay in the stream tonight, guys, for some strange reason. Have you noticed that? I'm not really sure what I set up wrong, but there's a huge delay in the stream tonight, and I'm really struggling with it. I must have set the stream up wrong. And on my end, it says Jackie just joined the group. Good to see you, ma'am. Good evening. I need to double check my stream settings, but I was more concentrating on trying to get this window actually working for the guitar and the amp. So when I hit this button, it should disappear. And again, it disappeared, but then again, I also lost my chat window again. So I have something set up wrong, guys. So as I see the YouTube window versus my OBS window, and it's at least 20 seconds behind what I'm saying. So the chat seems to be way behind where I'm at.
Jerry's on. He's got a question.
Hey, Jerry, the resident PV man is here. So just letting you guys know.
He's got a question.
And I see the question marks. Avery, have you seen the electronic guitar that breaks down for travel? It has a range of 8 octaves and as well as a host of voicings. I forgot the name, maybe Omni. I have not seen it. I was watching Philip McKnight earlier, and he had a headless aluminum guitar that they were doing for, I think, Guitar of the Week or something that he does. And it was made out of a thin aluminum plate. But I don't think that guitar did that. I don't know which one you mean. There was one on Amazon that the neck come off of. It was more like a MIDI type guitar, and I've heard you hear good things on certain YouTubers, and then other YouTubers like the guy in Europe, that K24 or wherever his name is, the bald-headed guy. He says it's a miss, the first gen and second gen. It was called an Arrow or something. He claims that guitar is just a miss, that it's not very good. It's like a synth guitar or something. That might be the guitar that you're speaking of. And Pentagor's put into the chat, it has tubes that you feel the strings through instead of using the saddle blocks. You don't have to cut the ball ends off. Yeah, that sounds like the Kahler here. Let me see if I can get the camera to pick it up. I don't know if you guys can see the ball ends. But this Kahler, this particular Kahler is an 87. They made this bridge in 87 and 88, but it wasn't for 2 full years. It was less than 1 year that they actually made the bridge, and then they were forced to stop producing it. So this was the first bridge with the string through design like that. And right here are the little locking pieces for the saddle when the string goes through. And this is what you turn to lock it. And then that pushes the string against the loop in the saddle right there, and that locks it. But like I was saying last week, I'll run the string through and I bring it up to close to tune, like maybe 2 steps down, then I lock it, and then I'm ready to go.
Pentagon said that's similar. I guess it's talking about the speed loader.
Yeah, I've never used the speed loader, Pentagore. I have heard some people say, and this is just YouTube say, that there were some issues with the speed loaders, and I don't know what those issues were. I've just heard that there were some issues with it. I'd like to get a set of them and put them in a bridge and run them through their paces and see if there is an issue or not. You know, that's pretty much what this channel's about. It's to cut through the YouTube hype and give you real world opinions on things. Even though they're my opinions, I don't lie. I'm going to tell you the pros, the cons. In some cases, guys, it comes down to just personal preference. It's what you like. You know, we are guitar players, and everyone likes different things. And that's great, because that's what gives us all these different instruments, because everyone likes something different. So once you figure out what you like, you're golden. I know that I'm a Kahler person. You know, this guitar with the Kahler, it is my go-to. And like I said, I'm going to need to do. I work on guitars, and it's getting to the point where some of my older guitars, they need some work. I was playing this guitar earlier, and the jack evidently has an issue. And the problem with this is this has a barrel jack in it, since it's an active guitar. So I'm going to have to see if I have a full barrel jack that I can replace this jack in the guitar. I'm actually surprised that I haven't put batteries in this guitar in some time, so I should probably check the batteries in it too to make sure they're okay. It is working, but that doesn't mean that they're not leaking. So we're going to play this thing a little bit. There's some new people in the chat. This guitar is a 1987 PV Nitro with a Kahler 2700, EMG 89, and a Generations active PV pickup in the center position. There is no neck pickup. You can hear the EMG 89 isn't the standard. It really doesn't have the sound the 85, 86, and 81 has. It has a unique sound. And when I tell people that I played at EMG 89 for all those years out in the bar, it just has a different quality to it. It has a really mean tone. All right, I'm trying to remember to hit the right buttons. But the hours that guitar has been played, it has the frets up here are pretty chewed up. The frets right here in the A position, pretty chewed up. And there's a lot of fret damage down in here. The guitar has been played and played and played and played. And I know people talk about, you know, bad frets, worn out frets. These are nickel frets. And, excuse me, even though they're nickel, it takes years of playing a guitar for the frets to get in bad shape. And I really should refret the guitar, but there's something to be said about refretting, guys. The frets on the guitar is what gives it a certain feel. I work on guitars. Quite capable of refretting this guitar. I'm scared to refret it because sometimes you refret a guitar and it just loses its magic. It no longer has that feel. And even though the frets and stuff are bad on the guitar, it still plays great. And I'm not having the issues of choking out notes yet. As, you know, that's something else that you got to think about. When a fret gets worn right here from playing it, and that string is playing over it and you bend, it also alleviates the frets around it. So it's not like you've got one bad fret here. When it starts to vibrate and stuff, it kind of, I don't even know how to word it. It does its own thing. It's not like it's just chewing that one fret. It's actually altering the other frets as you play it. So they wear across evenly, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But if I were to put a Sharpie on these frets and then put a flat edge on them, it would be a mess. It would be a mess. I don't know if the camera will pick up how chewed up those frets are. But they are quite chewed up. And I'm not going to fix it. It's a 1987. It still plays good. I love the guitar. I love the sound. Love everything the guitar does. This is my favorite guitar out of everything that I own. Over my Kramer, over, well, everything. This is my favorite guitar. Even over my Vandenberg. This is my baby. this is the one that I played out. This was my go-to. So I'm sure everyone has a guitar like that. What fretboard radius is my favorite? Jupe asked that. You know, I really like the 10 to 14 compound radius. I find that nice because the 10 up here allows you to do your open chording and it feels nice. But then when it flattens out to the 14, it still feels comfortable down there. I'm not sure what the radius on this fretboard is. I think this one's a 12 to 14. It could just be a 12 on this guitar. But I like compound radiuses. If it doesn't have a compound radius, I found that the 12 or 14 works well for me. I don't. Now there's something to be said for a 9.5 and the 7.5, the old Fenders, doing the cowboy chords and stuff like that. This guitars play great. The problem with it is, what I find when I go down and start playing lead, I feel like I'm playing over a mountain on them. And it's just not for me. But I would say 10 to 14 is my favorite multi-scale. And if I'm not doing a multi-radius, compound radius, if I'm not doing that, I want a 12 or a 14 radius. That's just what I found. Also prefer rosewood. If it's not rosewood, I prefer ebony. Ebony's my go-to. Rosewood, on the dark rosewood, there's different grades of rosewood, guys. You look at this rosewood neck. It's hard to get a rosewood neck like that. Look at the consistency in the grain and how dark that rosewood is. Real rosewood, select rosewood like this, is nice. It's consistent and it feels like ebony under your fingers. Now there's different grades of ebony as well. You can get what they call true ebony, which is very dark. That's good ebony. I'm not a big fan of the ebony with the stripes on it, the lower grade stuff. So that makes a big difference. Not saying that I don't like maple fingerboards. I do have a couple guitars with maple fingerboards. It just seems like they don't stay around long. And I'm going to contribute the feel under my fingers at the maple. It's just, I can't even explain it. I just know that these guitars with the maple and the rosewood, comparison the two, seems like my maple guitars stick around for a couple years and they go away. When I find a rosewood guitar that I like or an ebony guitar that I like, they stay. I don't have any guitar that's maple that has been here more than 5 years, and then they disappear. I can't say that about these guitars, if that makes sense. Again, you find out what you like. And I see, I always get it confused now because he changed his name. Honey Tap has joined the group. Good to see you, man. Why does it say no on the back of the two? You must have started at the beginning. This is a test stream, just so you know. So everything here is a test. So we tried something new with a different camera tonight. Yes. So it's actually written backwards on the guitar. So the reason it's written backwards, when you're playing, you flip it up. Now it's right. So it said no lot lizards on the back of the guitar back in the day. So you were out playing and maybe some women starting to get a little squirrely and you'd flip the guitar over and it said no lot lizards.
That's funny, you said, is that the default answer, play Stairway to Heaven?
Yeah. So that's why the word no is still on it. The face of the guitar used to have yellow pinstriping on it too. And if I move it a certain way, you can actually see a higher sheen in the blue in a certain light. And that was because the pinstriping was on the guitar for so many years on stage lights and stuff like that. You could still see a ghosting in certain places where the pinstripes were. But that was, 25, 30 years ago.
Did you answer Jerry's question about the FU tone
No, I didn't see that. Jerry's got a question on the FU version of the Floyd Rose. I haven't played their FU version of the Floyd Rose. I'll be honest with you, Jerry. I got a video on building a Floyd Rose. I should probably do another video. Whatever FU is doing, I'm not saying their products are bad or anything because I don't know those guys. I'm sure it's a great bridge. But you can build the bridge that's in that Firefly that I did. That's a phenomenal bridge. It's got the Floyd Rose German base plate. It's running the Cash stainless steel saddles, Music Lily 42 millimeter L-shaped block, and it's an X Labs heavy duty claw with Floyd Rose coated springs and a Floyd Rose turbo bar. You can buy all those parts and have less money in it, and trust me, it's a phenomenal bridge. Tons of sustain, just a phenomenal bridge. It is a little brighter with the stainless steel saddles, so if you don't want the bright saddles, there's a couple companies where the main housing of the saddle is stainless, but the part that the string goes over and the locking block is brass. So that can take the edge off of it a little bit. But if you play it, you probably won't pick up on the brightness that stainless steel has. If you A-B them, you'll hear it. Oh yeah, the stainless steel is a little brighter. But just picking the guitar up, like if I picked that guitar up and played it versus my Kahler, I wouldn't necessarily pick up that the stainless steel was brighter. And I hear people say that too about the stainless steel frets. It makes the guitar brighter. I haven't really picked up on that at all. But I have picked up on the saddles being a little brighter. Jupe says flame maple top is also cool. So the bird's eye. Yeah, he's saying the bird's eye maple. I'm trying to think if I have a guitar. I have this one. This one isn't my guitar, guys. It's going back probably on Monday to its owner. This one does have the bird's eye top. So this is going back to CG. And if you guys watch any of my videos, CG will post pretty much in every video. I've been kind of hoping that he would show up to one of the live streams, but he hasn't shown up since. Well, I think he showed up the first two. But this is his guitar, so it's going back to him really soon. He sent me the return label, so I'll probably be returning this guitar the first of the week back to him. And he said that he has another guitar he wanted to send me. I think it was an EVH model, but I don't know. I'll have to talk to him more about it and see what he wants to send. But he's got a ton of different guitars. He said anything that he gets, he would send me and I could do a review on it, which is pretty cool.
Honeytop said I had a saying carved into my old Kramer, and it said, "Drink more, we will sound better."
I like that, Honeytop. Drink more, we will sound better. Yep. Well, this is the Firefly, guys. And Firefly has done a lot of changes. My very first Firefly had harmonic pickups in it and stuff like that. I did a review on the Ash top Fireflies, the Strat and the Les Paul. And in those videos, I said the one weak link in those guitars were the pickups. Now, this particular guitar, I'm going to turn on my microphone on the amp, but I'm going to leave this microphone on. Check, 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 check. Now you can tell they're not microphonic, so they've improved that. But there's something about these two pickups and this guitar. I like the way this guitar sounds. This one, I'm not much of a burst finish guy, but I think this is one. It's not the best playing Firefly that I've had, but I think it's the best sounding Firefly that I've had. So I'm going to turn this mic off and we'll get a couple sounds out of this guitar. I don't know what you guys think of the tone on that, but we got to keep in mind this is one of the newer Fireflies with the more rounded horn right here, and I'm not even sure if they've changed all the pickups on the model. That guitar has a really nice sounding pickup in it. If Firefly uses that pickup more often, or put that pickup in the purple one that I like, the ash, sandblasted ash top, oh my gosh, that would just be an incredible guitar. I wouldn't change those pickups. They remind me, and it could be this, they remind me of a tweaked up JB. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like, or you know what? It sounds like a tweaked up JB that's a little brighter than a JB and a little meaner, but still doesn't lose the warmth. If that makes any sense whatsoever. That's probably what, now that I think about it, that's kind of what that pickup sounds like. I like that pickup. I'm almost ready to call CJ and say, look, I've already got the guitar. Why don't you sell it to me for what you paid for it? Because I'm really digging that little Les Paul.
Jerry says, just curious, it has some good looking specs. I think he's talking about your Nitro. Superior to stock FR for about same price. You can go crazy with upgrades and have a bridge worth more than $1,200, but that's overkill in my opinion.
Alright, she was just reading Jerry's comment. Just curious, that has some good looking specs. Superior to the stock FR for the same price. If you go crazy with upgrades, the bridge is worth more than $1,200. But that's all. For $1,200, Jerry, if I spoke to Mr. Kaler, and the reason Mr. Kaler doesn't want to make this bridge anymore is because of the parts count and the expense. Believe me, you're not going to beat the 2700. The best bridge ever made. Now, it's my opinion. This is the best bridge. Find yourself a Peavey with the 2710. That bridge right there. Find yourself one. Peavey Nitros had them. Some of the Nitro 2s had them. I think see, Peavey's kind of weird. Just because it's a Nitro doesn't mean it has this headstock. They had a different Nitro. They had 3 different versions of the Nitro. But you're looking for that bridge. Just pick one of these up. You can get one in really, really good shape. Just hunt for it. $600. Okay? Then add the pickups of your choosing, and you'll be far ahead of the game. You don't need to upgrade it. It's already a superior bridge. But these guitars are getting harder and harder and harder to find. But my point, before you spend $1,200, we should email Mr. Kaler, and if enough people email him, and we just said, look, we'll buy it, we'll do a retainer on it, I'm sure eventually he would make a special run of these. And we talked about it once before. I mean, he made them once before. If he still has his tooling sitting around on some of the shelves, and his new machines will accept his old tooling, it may not be too cost preventative for him to remake them. But if his new NC machines don't allow for setting up on the node his old tooling, then he's not going to do it. $1,200, in my opinion, is too much for a Floyd. I would also look at, there's a company called Sophia. I would look at a Sophia with a global tuner. If you want something a little different, that's going to put you in the $600 range, give or take, and you can call Sophia on the phone. If you want a larger block with more mass, you can change the metal of the saddles, brass, steel, stainless, all these little things you can do with the Sophia, and then they can give you a price. It's a peculiar looking bridge. It almost looks like a headless bridge with like the tubes and the tuner on the back. It's what it kind of looks like, that floats on a plate. But it has a global tuner. And what the global tuner does is as you tune the guitar, that changes the pressure on the bridge. So instead of having to unlock the locker, you can spin the global tuner back and it brings the bridge back into its correct position, which also corrects the intonation of the bridge. So you can chase your tune and the level of the bridge with the global tuner. You can also tune the guitar to 440 and set the global tuner up to where you spin it back and you can get to 35, 40 or quarter tones depending on what you want with the global tuner. So it's a pretty impressive bridge. So check out Sophia. That would be another good one for you to look at. So Honey Taps, I gotta say the Firefly LP I got back 0 songs on it. I gave it a solid C, but I know you and Ray Lantis have had great experience with it. I don't know, Ray, and I haven't had great experiences with all their products. They've had some misses on this channel. The FFNN was definitely one of their misses. That was not a good instrument at all. And what's funny is, that's probably the worst guitar they've ever sent me, and that one stayed. I did a lot of videos on fixing that guitar up and getting all the bugs out of it. But I have a lot of time in it. But it's just funny how that was the worst guitar, and it's probably one of my better playing guitars that I have. It does play phenomenally. I haven't played it in a while. I should probably plug it in and actually play it. And Jerry says, just there playing Jane with beefy brass blocks is all over 200. Oh, they're playing Jane with beefy brass blocks. Yeah, well, the brass block's going to add sustain, but it's this part right here where the string rides on. Okay, you can get steel, brass, or stainless. There's some other materials there. But this part right here really affects your tone, believe it or not. Now this guitar here, I think these are steel on this one. It's either steel or brass on this one. I can't remember. I'm thinking it's steel on this one. But Kaler's good about giving you the option on what material that you want the saddle piece to be that the string rides over. Jupe says he really likes the Schecter Banshee Extreme with the Floyd Rose Special, but the fine tuners, they suck, too hard to turn. Yeah, what you can do with that, pull first, look at the backside of the tuner, the fine tuner. They've probably crushed the threads on the back of that tuner, so you can't back them all the way out. So sometimes what will end up happening, someone will unthread the tuner and they'll try to force that tuner through the bridge, and that messes up the threads in the base plate. If that's the case, the only way to fix it is to force it all the way through the bridge and really mess them up, and pray you can use a chase tap and clean it, or you have to cut them off, clean it, and then unthread them. So first thing, check and see if they damaged the threads on the back of the screws. They may have actually damaged the screw underneath the bridge too far up, and that thread is damaged on the actual screw itself, and that's not allowing you to do a tune. And I just sat there and turned that, so now my guitar's out of tune. Sometimes I don't think. So what they may have did when they pinched that thread, they may have pinched it up too high, and you're just feeling that where they damaged the thread so it wouldn't pop out. You might be feeling that. And for whatever reason, part of my chat is like cut off. They also had great luck with their South Korean models. I had the Sun Valley Super Shredder. If you guys watched the video on this channel, I had 2 issues with that guitar. Now, Sweetwater did correct the one issue. They did not correct the other issue because I had the guitar too long. The pickguard on the guitar started warping and cupping, and it wasn't a little bit. It did it a lot. And it wasn't just the pickguard. The 2 bottom plates on the back of the guitar were starting to warp on the guitar as well. What ended up happening is the route routine that they used for the covers on the back of the guitar was too tight, and the covers were made too big, and they started to expand and they warped. The other pickguard on the face of the guitar, the electronics inside were hitting the route. And when the pickguard was new, it kept it flat. But over time, it started to warp the pickguard. I called Sweetwater. They sent me all new covers. I switched everything over to the new cover, put it in the guitar, and that's when I realized the electronics were rubbing in the route. So my personal experience with Schecter was the route was wrong, and the pickguard warped, and they had issues with the back. But that's just one guitar, guys. It's one guitar out of... But I question that because the body is done on a CNC machine. So unless they went back and changed the programming, they all had to have that issue because the pickguard is done on a CNC and the body's done on the CNC. So there's no way the other guitars didn't have that issue, if that makes any sense.
DG said, hi, this is DG with the Bird's Eye Firefly. Great to see you here.
Hey, the man, that DG just entered the group. This is his guitar, and it'll be heading back to him, like I said, beginning of the week. I was going to do a demo recording on it, and you guys could probably hear it in my voice. I've been feeling well this week, so I've been taking a lot of aspirin and a lot of Dayquil. But I was going to do a demo part on this guitar, but I don't think I'm going to have time, so I'm going to end up having to send it back to him. But like I was telling, this guitar just has a sound. Let's go back, since I know he's in the group. Let's go back. I'm sorry, guys. This thing just sounds mean. It's it's got to be the best sounding Firefly I think I've ever heard. Like I said earlier, I don't know if they're using that pickup in all their new guitars. If they are, that's a win. That my ears tell me that guitar sounds awesome. I like it. It sounds like a beefed up JB in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think of it. And like I said, guys, I'm having a real hard time with the chat. It seems like the chat is the lag on the stream is so far behind. I don't know if Linnell can tell me how many seconds it's behind, but I'm watching the YouTube thing versus OBS. It's got to be over 20, 25 seconds at this point. I must have set something up extremely wrong in the stream section. Does it actually say how far behind is the stream?
It doesn't say. Now, see, you're gonna say what you just said.
Does it actually say how far behind is the stream? I don't know. It seems I'm getting confused, guys, because this is a test stream. Friday night we just get together, we hang out, and I try to fix the bugs in the system. And tonight I have two different windows. I have the YouTube window and the OBS window, and then I have my scenes window and then the chat window, and it is really confusing me. Yeah, I'm really struggling with this. I'm probably not going to keep this set up. It's really, my little squirrel brain can't follow and track with it at all. I'm really struggling with this, but I'm a trooper and I'm going to hang in there, even though the chat and window and everything is just
Jerry said.
very strange.
Which nitro is that? 1, 2, or 3?
Well, that's a good question. I've seen it listed as just a nitro. I've seen it listed as a 3. And then I've also seen a PB Nitro that has a completely different headstock that they said was a 3. You want to look for the headstock that has the routed grooves in it, like this. That was their Cadillac model. They had a couple different versions of the Nitro. The other Nitro with the different headstock, I have seen only one of those with the Kahler 2710. Most of those had a different bridge, a cheaper Kahler bridge on them. So if you want this particular bridge, you've got to pretty much go to this headstock. And this, in my opinion, this is the better guitar.
DG said, I think that his guitar was meant for you. He said, sure, you can buy it. We'll work it out.
I'm all about buying that. I like that guitar. I do. Ask Linnell. I pick that thing up all the time. I'm like, there's just something about the sound on this guitar. Now, since you're in the group, DG, when you played it, what amplifier are you running when you played it? What's your amp of choice? Did you plug a guitar into the amp? Does it sound like in the stream? Does that sound like what you were getting out of the guitar? I'm really curious. I know you said you played it, but I'm really curious. Were you getting that kind of sound quality out of it?
Curtain scale's on.
Yep, I see Kurt Inscale come into the group. Good to see you, man. I'm really curious to see what amp that you are running. I've said it a million times. I think your amp has a lot to do with your tone. But this particular pickup in this guitar, my amp likes it. It likes it. It could be the EQ setting, it could be the settings in the processing, but it likes it. And I'm sure it's something that I have set up and it's favoring the whines in this particular pickup. But it sounds awesome. DG says it's only have a positive Grid Spark 2 modeling amp. I don't have a real amp or any pedals. And he says he agrees it sounds great with my amp. Yeah, I I would be curious to plug it into a different amp and see what it sounds like. I might plug it into my Egnator tomorrow and see what it does in the Egnator. But it just has a sound. And but here again, I use this amp. This is the amp I use on all my reviews. So all my previous Fireflies have been played through this system. And there's just something about this one that I like. I like the sound. I don't necessarily think it's the best playing Firefly that I've got, but it has a sound. It breaks up better, and even the clean tones on it. There's a maze to get over to the amp, or I would go over and hit a clean channel. But even the cleans sound warm on it. It's quite impressive. I like it. So the Grid, the Positive Grid Spark 2, yeah, that's a modeling amp. I don't know if that's the little one or the other one. According to the ad on Reverb, that's a 3. Yeah, I know, but sometimes when you're looking, I wouldn't, Jerry, if you're going to look on Reverb, just put PV Nitro. Because if you put PV Nitro 3, someone may have not put a listing up as a Nitro 3, and you're going to miss some of them. Because another guitar I'm looking for is a PV Destiny. If you can find a PV Destiny, extremely nice guitar. Very rare. They didn't make many of them. They were expensive. They were about $1,200 back then. And that was getting into the Vandenberg price. But the Vandenberg on the neck through was almost $2,000. So the Destiny was a much cheaper alternative to the Vandenberg neck through. Now you could still get a Vandenberg bolt-on, and the Vandenberg bolt-on was about the same price as the neck through Dynasty. So if you can find a Dynasty, that would be a good guitar. The Nitro's a good guitar, and of course the Vandenberg's a good guitar. Another good guitar is a Generation. You don't want an EXP. You want the Generation that was made in the USA, not the EXP model. It's like it was their import version of the Generation. It's a Telecaster, and believe it or not, they actually made some of the Generations with the 2700 bridge and the active electronics. If you can find one of those, that's a gold mine. Those guitars are just phenomenal. I've been looking for one, and there is one for sale. I think it's on Reverb. That I think he wants like $1,300 for it, but I think that one has the Kahler Spider on it, not the 2700. If I remember, it's like a purple and blue finish, active electronic PV Generation with a Spider. If you can find one of those, again, that's a great guitar. If you're more of a T body style, more of a Telly body style shape guy, I would go with a Generation. And then Jerry's got, Honey Tap put in first. I get all confused. The only amp I use now is my Spark Mini. I love that thing. Mostly run it into my mixer. I did that Honey Tap the first couple videos that we did. I have a Line 6 HX Stomp, and the Stomp sounds fine. There's nothing wrong with the Stomp, but there's just something about tubes. I can't put my finger on it. Let me plug my other guitar in. And I'll have to retune because I played with the tuner when I was talking about that thing for jute. They got a bad jack. I don't even remember why I picked this thing up. Turn it up to 11. This amplifier that I'm playing here It's actually a stereo amp, so you guys aren't getting it in stereo. I have one microphone in front of it, and the microphone is basically not pointing at any driver. It's pointing at the center of the 4 drivers. So it's 2 different signals going into the amp. So you're getting the left and the right in a mono.
Did you see where Jerry said hold the body edge up so I can see, please?
Yeah, the 2700. This is the 2700. And that's the bridge that you want. And you can look, where's it say it? Killer. Right here on the bridge, if the camera will pick up, right here it'll say 2700 series. Actually, let me try to hold that up.
He said it has Kaler 2700 single humbucker and bridge. Only difference I see. I don't know what y'all were talking about. But
Now there's 2 versions of this bridge. This one, these back here, the knurling on it is straight. See the knurling right on these? It's a straight knurling. The second gen, which is the better version, it'll be a crosshatch knurling, okay? And the reason you're looking for one of those is these posts here are made thicker. The first gen versions had a problem with the post bending on them, and they quickly rectified it, but they had already sent PV X amount of bridges, so PV discontinued using them. PV did make some with this, but when they received the second batch of the upgraded ones, that's all they could get. Mr. Kaler wasn't allowed to produce any more of them due to the lawsuit. So this bridge was made for about a year, and that's it. That's the one you're looking for. So this guitar, like I said, it's got an EMG 89 in it. It does have a short in the jack. And I like this pickup. This is a guitar that I played out live with for many, many years. This was my go-to guitar. It's beat up. It's got a lot of road rash on the guitar. And if you listen, turn both mics on. If you listen to the guitar, the way it breaks up, it's very harmonic. Now you can see how I'm holding the pick. I'm pinching the strings. But you can hear it. You can hear the guitar is very responsive. And that's what I'm looking for when I come up. I want the guitar to have that pinch, that sound. the guitar breaks up, it's just a good guitar. That was a mess. Oh, she says Jupe's got to go. I'm going to turn off this. Everybody makes mistakes when they play. Misfretted a lot during that. Made a lot of mistakes. But you got to have fun when you're playing. Sometimes you go out on a tangent. Sometimes you can bring it back. Sometimes it's a complete failure. There was a couple of complete failures in that, but that's okay. So, Jupe, got to hit the hay. See you tomorrow night. All right, man. I'll see you tomorrow night. Like I said, tonight's just a test stream. We're testing the other camera, which should be right there. It should pop up. That's a guitar amp that I've been playing. But every time I do that, I lose the chat. And I haven't quite figured out why when I enter game the other one camera, I lose the chat. And I got to open up the chat window again. So that's what each week we're trying to do something a little new. So it's kind of a useless camera. It just shows the amplifier. But I want to say thanks to Jupe for coming in. I like having the same guys. It's a family, if that makes sense. And then I see we got a new one. Dean, that guitar is R&R. Yeah, it is. It's a machine. It needs some work, though. The jack has got a short on it. So I need to give the guitar some love. But it has a sound. That EMG 89 is my favorite EMG. And I'm a little biased because I played that guitar, 20-some straight years. I only had 3 guitars. I had this PV Nitro, I had a PV Nitro Passive, and I had my PV Vandenberg. And I had those guitars, and that's the only guitars I had. And I would buy a guitar, keep it for about a year or two, sell it, and just keep to my PVs. It's been in the last 5 years that I've been expanding what I play. And I think it's helped me in a lot of ways. It's helped me learn that there's certain guitars that you get just a certain sound out of. Certain guitars make you play a certain way. I always wondered how that sound or that feel. I pick up a real Fender Tele, I play it differently. I play it differently than I play this guitar. Pick up the little Fender Nashville here. I play that guitar different than I play this one. So I think it's opened me up. Now, something I will say, going from 24 to 25 to 25.5 scale lengths, you have a tendency of misfretting. You get used to the 24 and 3/4 fret, and then you go to a 25.5 fret. You might misfret until your brain resyncs to your hand on the frets. And I was doing that tonight. I've been playing this guitar and my Kramer Night Swan, which is a 24.75 fret. And now going to the 25, I'm misfretting quite a bit.
It's after 10.
The better half says it's after 10. So
Call me little one.
I almost called her a little one. Almost made a mistake. So that means dinner's ready. So I'm going to go out here and eat, guys.
It's a very late dinner.
Yeah, it's a very late dinner, but we put a bunch of stuff. We put some pork in the slow cooker and a bunch of veggies, and she made a big stew. So we're going to be munching on the stew that's been out there cooking now for about 4 hours. So it should be ready to eat. So I'm going to be enjoying that.
It's been more like 6 hours.
Oh, she said it's been more like 6 hours it's been cooking, so it should be yummy by now. All right, I want to thank everybody for coming in and hanging out. And if I missed any comments, guys, I'm sorry. Like I said, I've got OBS and everything's really strange on the chat window tonight. I was trying something new. I'll work on it a little bit more tomorrow during the day, and I'll try to get the other window to where it works a little better. Like I should be able to shut that window off like that. When I shut that window off, you see it disappeared, but I'll lose the chat. So there's something I got set up funny. But thanks everybody for coming in. And like I said, if you guys have questions that you want to ask on the next live show, I can be a little more prepared. Just go to the community page and I'll set a new post up, and you guys can type in there, hey, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about that, and I'll get a little bit more prepared for tomorrow night's stream. All right, guys, have a good night, and I'll see you all tomorrow night. Thanks, guys.